Uh, the first Captain America movie made by Marvel Studios is the fifth movie in this film franchise, and it contributed to the Phase One set of movies. Set during World War II and is more of a period piece in America at that time. Kevin Feige, the producer and the mastermind behind Marvel Studios, originally wanted this film to be based in World War II and then move into present time. And in fact, it was Avery Arad who actually suggested that not doing not doing the the present day stuff would be a huge missed opportunity. Regardless of the fact, this movie does very well as a period piece. And regardless of how you feel about Avi Arad and his work with Marvel, because I know some people have a problem with him in the sense that his take on Spider-Man has really ruined that franchise. I think I appreciate that Avi Arad really wanted to see this character succeed. And I don't think the film being split into World War II and the present day stuff would have been a good idea for this film. And I think the reason why is because we don't get the full journey of Captain America. And we basically see Captain America go from a World War II character to a superhero in the Avengers to a part of S.H.I.E.L.D. And then who knows what we'll see in Age of Ultron. And I think it was good that we actually got to see Captain America in his early days. And it also sets up quite a lot of that early stuff. As you can see from the box office, Captain America didn't do particularly well when compared to characters like Thor and especially Iron Man, but did do considerably better than Incredible Hulk. And we know, and I have said reasons why that is. Sequel really improves on the character of Captain America. And really brings this character back in, to audience attentions properly. But this film doesn't do too badly, actually. I mean, yeah, there are some bits that might be a bit of a problem, but the movie doesn't do particularly bad. The big problem with Captain America is that it tries to be a war film. It still have that superhero aspects. It doesn't really play out the war film aspects. However, I would usually say that a war film tends to focus on a squad of people or a group of people fighting the same cause. And that's not what we get in this story. We really get just Captain America doing everything. And we also have a love interest as well attached to that. We don't really have a group of people that we're following. And the leader that they're following is Captain America. Yes, I'm glad that Captain America is in the forefront of our minds when we see this film. The problem is, we don't see America as part of a group. And that's really what war films should be. And if this isn't a war film, I kind of question what this film was supposed to be. Whilst the SSSR and the Howling Commandos do support Captain America, he's the one that does all the fun, does all the baggage. Captain America has a similar problem to another character, Superman. The problem is with Superman and Captain America is these two characters have very high moral standards. And they're moral standards that people can't live up to. Which makes Captain America and Superman not very relatable. And I think it's especially worse for Captain America, because the morals that he stands for no longer exist. The world and the ideas it has changed since wartime. And the movie is commenting on that. It is commenting on that, but not nearly enough. You more find it in Winter Soldier than you do in this movie. We live in an age where movies such as Dark Knight and James Bond are loved simply because they're dark and gritty. We live in a more pessimistic society now, and I think that people relate more to these darker personas. They tend to relate more to the Captain Americas because of these moral standards. People compromise all the time, and that's really done a lot better in the sequel. And I know I keep mentioning the sequel quite a lot. It's just the thing is, the sequel was a whole lot better, and it really improves on this character, and it's sort of sad to see that actually this film wasn't able to truly match up to that level of writing, and it could have. In terms of story, it's very point A to point B kind of story. The movie sort of feels like it's a necessity to explain why how Captain America got from World War II into the Avengers movie. And we have to establish that in a realistic way that makes sense. I think the movie is very lackluster, and I feel like the character development is rushed, and nothing quite flows well. But on the other side, this movie sets up a lot in regards to what we find in Winter Soldier, obviously, and also it sets up the Peggy Carter series perfectly. It sets out the kind of characters that Peggy and Howard are, and also sets up Arnim Zola as well, being a major character in these Marvel movies. The movie also sets up the Tesseract as well, and we did see the Tesseract at the end of Thor. We didn't know what the Tesseract could do. We didn't know what its powers were, or what it was for. And in this movie, we get to see that Tesseract power can do. So we begin in present day with the discovery of Captain America and ship that he crashed at the end of learning that we also learn that Captain America has been gone 70 years. So we know that 70 years has passed, between World War II and present day. And the reason why this is important is because Captain America has been gone for a long time. And I'm kind of interested to see what will happen, if there were any more Captain Americas during that period of time. We then transition into the past time, into World War II, where we will spend most of the movie. Steve Rogers trying to enlist into the army, until one day he meets Abraham Erskine. And Steve then really proves his worth, and then becomes Captain America and joins SSR's campaign to go against Hydra. We also have a side story between Peggy and Steve that basically shows two lovers that never achieve a happy ending. So that's basically the story setup. Digging deeper into the story, we can see many of the connections into the other films. We see Hydra's obsession with alien technology, which then goes on to be handled by Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. We see Red Skull's obsession with Norse mythology, which of course connects to Thor. We just see many different aspects to this film franchise. Red Skull's obsession with Norse mythology and with alien artifacts is sort of extended to to his other followers as well. But what's interesting about Red Skull's obsession with Norse mythology is it fits in well with the Nazi regime going on at the time. Red Skull's ideals really parallel Captain America's ideals. Whilst Captain America believes in truth and justice, we have Supersoldier, we have Red Skull believing in oppression and unlimited power. And we see that many times throughout the film. This is where the Supersoldier Serum enters, and the philosophy behind the Supersoldier Serum. Basically, the Supersoldier Serum unleashes what you are within. And basically, if you are inherently a good person, you will get those good traits. If you're not a good person, i.e. Red Skull, you will develop that. Because of how Red Skull led his life, he develops the Red Skull, whilst Captain America is given a more angelic appearance. I find the philosophy behind, and also it basically presents the idea of good versus evil, or America versus Germany, which there's a scene in the film where you do have Captain America on one side and Red Skull on the other, clearly showing this parallel between these different ideas being presented. And at the time, and this is where some of that period piece comes in, at the time, the world had a very basic view of how they viewed each other. And because terrorists weren't really around at this point. And the world wasn't filled with greys like it is today. And that is something that Winter Soldier really does present. But what's good about this film is it shows the mindset of the time, which was really, really good. Steve Rogers is the main character of the movie. And he eventually will become part of the Avengers initiative. And yeah. The title itself called him the first Avenger. And it should be noted that Captain America may not necessarily have been the first hero. Because we kind of get a reference to the Human Torch. And this Human Torch isn't Human Torch from Fantastic Four. It's actually it's actually a reference to an early superhero called Human Torch. It's very, very obscure. Basically kind of shows that that there may have been other superheroes at the time, and that maybe Steve Rogers wasn't the first hero necessarily, but he certainly is the first modern hero, which is mainly what Marvel focuses on. Chris Evans does a really good job at playing Steve Rogers, Captain America. About what Steve Evans is playing is Captain America is a very serious role, and I think Evans does such a good job at showing that. But as I have mentioned before, it really is a point A to point B story, and it basically just sees Rogers getting to the point where he can join the Avengers. Rogers as a character, however, is very similar to the comics, which makes the character very admiring. Rogers' introduction establishes that he is a man dedicated to serving his country. He deeply believes in the principles that he is fighting to protect. He is fighting to protect American values. Although this isn't explicitly said in the film, but you can kind of guess that that's what's going on. Unlike Tony Stark, who is a flawed individual, Captain America is an all-round golden boy. Captain America is uncompromising in his moral philosophy. And throughout the early stages of this, we do see his unrelenting spirit to do the right thing play out time and time again. And we see and in the early stages of the film, we do see people overlook that, because people want strength, people want power, but it's the power of moral philosophy. It's the power to constantly do the right thing that makes Captain America such an interesting character. It's why Erskine actually recruited him. It's why, because of these morals that he stands for. And I like the fact that Rogers keeps the promises that he made for Erskine about being a person who, and what I find great is Rogers Erskine really is the same similar character to Yinsen. Both men are sent down, Yinsen and Erskine really showed Tony and Steve Rogers a path. And now they're down the path of superheroism. And I just find that such an interesting parallel, and it'll be interesting to see what Age of Ultron does with that. But the difference between Rogers and Tony is Tony sees a life full of greys, whereas Steve Rogers doesn't. He sees good versus evil. And I think the reason why people tend to gravitate more towards Tony Stark is because of the flawed nature. And that, I think, is more realistic. Another aspect to Steve Rogers' character is Peggy Carter. Hayley Atwell plays her character very, very well. And in actual fact, she's probably one of my second favourite female love interests in this franchise. She just plays her character so well, and she's such a nice character as well. And she's very different from Pepper Potts. But I think the thing is, if Pepper Potts and Peggy Carter ever were to meet, I'm sure they would have been friends. Because Hayley Atwell plays off that niceness about the character. This is very much the early stages of Peggy Carter's character, and this begins her journey that we see continue into Agent Carter. Peggy and Steve's relationship sparks during the car journey scene to the supersoldier serum. And Steve recounts his failed experiences with women and tells her that he's waiting for someone that he can share a dance with. And this really is what defines their relationship moving forward. The thing is, though, it's not really a relationship. There's a sweet romantic tension between these two characters, but it's not a relationship. And the reason why I'm saying that is because the relationship is never cemented in the film. And this is mainly a factor in Agent Carter, but I'll mention it here as well. The two flirt a lot during the film, but they never go out on an official date. Steve is the first guy who retreats Peggy Carter as an equal and not as a woman. And that's something played a lot in Agent Carter, but these two characters are perfect for each other. And it's really a sad moment when they are separated. Because when Steve sacrifices his life at the end of the film, it terminates this relationship moving forward. It's basically a tragedy at the end of the day. Another important character is Howard Stark, who, like Peggy, also begins his character arc that moves into Carter arc. So Howard Stark is a part of Project Rebirth that created Captain America, helps Captain America develop his first costume, and gives him the vibranium shield that he will continue to use. Stark's introduction sets him up as a billionaire playboy, very similar to Tony Stark. The difference is that I get the impression that Howard Stark is more of a futurist. Like, Howard Stark would have loved present day. Because, Howard Stark, spends a lot of his time developing future technology. He spends a lot of time, in that mindset of the future and what the future could be. And I really like that aspect, and it's an aspect that I wish Tony Stark had in his character. At first glance, you might say that Dominic Cooper is just simply playing Tony Stark. But I argue he's not. I think that the characters are actually very different. Howard Stark is considerably less flawed in this movie, and he appears to have some sort of code of ethics in the way he goes about doing business. And whilst his flaws come out later on in his life, at this stage, the movie doesn't present that. As for Bucky Barnes, we don't get very much development out of Bucky. There's a slight indication that Arnim Zola may have done something to him during his capture, that may have led to how he was in Winter Soldier, but there's not enough development of his character. The SSSR, the precursor to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., is also established in the movie, fighting HYDRA and supporting Captain America. That's basically all that they do. Again, Howling Commandos, very similar. They're just supporting cast to help Captain America. And as I've said, Captain America does a lot of the heavy baggage. The problem is with this film is the supporting cast don't do a lot. And they're very underplayed. Captain America, it goes Captain America, Peggy Carter, Howard Stark, and then it's SSR and the Howling Commandos. And the Howling Commandos are painfully underused in this film. Painfully underused. I mean, SSSR, yes, does exist. They're underused as well. Like, where are the resources? Where are the army? And why aren't they helping to fight Hydra? I know you have to have the army fighting the actual Nazis, but where are your forces? Okay, so as for the villains, we have Red Skull being the leader of Hydra and established as the opposite of Captain America. You also have Arnim Zola again being established, who will become a major villain. If Captain America is the pillar of goodness, then Red Skull is the opposite. Everything that the Red Skull does in this movie is about power, and his pursuit alien artifacts becomes a staple for Hydra moving forward. An example of this would be Whitehall in the first half of season 2, and his obsession with trying to get the Terrigen crystals. Red Skull will do anything for power, whilst Rogers will do anything to protect people. And the super soldier was once Red Skull's obsession. Red Skull believes he could gain the power to become similar to Thor. And the super soldier became a symbol for that godlike status. And then his pursuit into alien artifacts became his obsession. And the Tesseract is really another aspect to Red Skull's philosophy. And in terms of villains, Red Skull does actually stand for something which is really interesting. And probably is one of the more better villains in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. In terms of my list, I would say Red Skull comes second to Loki. Arnim Zola is a very, very weird character in this movie. I kind of got the impression that Arnim Zola was a bit fearful of Red Skull and didn't really believe in the ideals of Hydra. The problem is that halfway through the movie, Arnim Zola just switches. He then reveals that he is actually a big part of Hydra. He has that mentality. It's very, very weird. As part of the bigger picture of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the film sets up a lot of things that are seen in other films. The Guardians of the Galaxy set the Tesseract as an Infinity Stone, and we see a lot of aspects being played out here. It will be interesting to see whether Red Skull is actually alive. Because all we saw is Red Skull being teleported into space. We didn't actually necessarily see him die. So it should be very interesting if he will appear again. Hugo Weaving has said that he will never play Red Skull again, but who knows really? I mean, who knows? All in all, guys, that's the end of my review for Captain America. I am gonna try and save my voice now. And the next film will be The Avengers.